If you are black, you should be pro-gun. Being black should make you just pro-gun by default. The fact that I even have to do a video like this just shows that they really got us good. Because why is you as a black person who claims to be an intellectual or woke or whatever they want to call it nowadays say you're against guns? Like, it's a crazy thing to think about, but that's the psyop. First thing I want to start with is self-defense. When I mean self-defense, I'm not really talking about someone just attacking you like a random person. But if you're black and you're just trying to be a good citizen and live your life, your blackness still makes you a target. If you live in a certain area and you're not involved in the criminal YN activity, you not being involved in that makes you a target by those people, other black people. You know, that's how it goes. And also just anybody white, you know, the white supremacists, the racists, and really also anyone of any other ethnicity, because we are the most hated race on the planet, and that makes people just want to attack us. And if you're just going to decide to not defend yourself, not have any tool that can defend yourself very fast, you're putting yourself in a very vulnerable position. And any kind of bully, that's exactly what they like, soft targets. And when you're saying, hey, I'm not a threat, I won't defend myself, they're going to be like, all right, perfect. And it's not just a past thing, it's very much present thing. But 100 years ago, high to Jim Crow, and let's say black people have that kind of liberal, white, leftist, psyop mindset where they're not, they're anti-gun, they don't want guns. That means the government would just wipe us out because we're not going to fight back, and we'll just be soft targets. And that was the point of us having guns, so we can defend ourselves. And they made laws in history that made it harder to defend ourselves, and that means we just had to get more guns by any means necessary. Now, going to my next thing, the Second Amendment does give you the right to bear arms and well-regulated militia, but also the point of it was saying that you have the right to get a tool to defend yourself. It might be a gun, whatever guns we've had throughout history. You have the right to get whatever it is you need to get. Now, like I said, as black people, when they started making gun restrictions and gun control laws, it would make that harder for us to get. And we're the ones who need it the most because, once again, we're black. And you can't be an unarmed black population because that makes you the easiest target. You gotta understand is when it comes to white supremacy, is they never wanted to arm the Negro. They didn't. So keep that in mind. Think about that. And modern black liberals saying we don't want to arm themselves. Like, what happened through history? Because listen, when the Second Amendment was created and there was the Revolutionary War, there were black soldiers in the war. And one of the what the whites were thinking was like, should we let them join and fight? Or are they going to revolt? Because that's how it goes. Like, these people they weren't the most morally sound people. They still owned slaves. They still didn't let black people. They still saw black people as less than human. So arming us was something that they really didn't want to do. But if it was for their war, then they'll do it and put them back to slavery. Arming the Negro is their biggest concern because that is the most direct threat to their system. And that's why they hit us with gun control laws. Because if you put a gun control, because when you got the Second Amendment, you're basically saying anyone who was American citizen, they have the right to the Second Amendment. They have the right to bear arms and purchase firearms. But the problem is, when that was created, they weren't thinking that the blacks were going to be free. So now you get to the late 19th century, blacks are free and they are trying to get guns. They have been arming themselves. And then fast forward to the mid 20th century, black people, they're forming militias, they're forming gun groups. So what do? Gun control laws. Look up the Mulford Act of 1967. Look up the Gun Control Act of 1968. This was a direct response to the Black Panthers. And they were doing, you know, what Americans should do: arm themselves and fight tyranny. Oh, unless you're black. Now we have to make gun control laws like that. Because they were out there protecting their communities like men should. They were arming themselves. They were fighting any injustice that faced them. But what did the governor, Ronald Reagan, do? He hit us with those. And yeah, it was Ronald Reagan who was behind taking down the Black Panthers.
Fuck Ronald Reagan. Fuck Ronald Reagan. Fuck Ronald Reagan. Fuck Ronald Reagan.
And taking away the guns. A Republican. Also, the NRA was involved in this too. And that's why I don't like the NRA, because that was a very significant time in gun control history, or really the history of America. Don't think gun control is just a one party thing. It can very much be bipartisan, especially when it comes to us having the guns. Like later on, it did become the Democrats. Bill Clinton did do another gun control bill or act, and that just made it even worse, significantly worse. Bill Clinton and Reagan were huge when it comes to gun control. One's known for being the best Democrat president, and one's known for being the best Republican president. So it really doesn't make a difference. This is where I want to talk about the liberal psyop, because throughout history, like I said, Black people have always known it is important to arm ourselves because we know who the enemy is. But somewhere along the way, when Black people started to be hardcore Democrats, I'm not a Republican, that should be obvious by now. But somewhere along the way, when Black people started to become big time Democrats, all this gun control started popping up. And they probably thought, well, maybe if we get guns away from the bad guys, then it'll be all good. But now it's been proven that does not work. Baltimore, my state in Maryland, Baltimore has one of the worst crime rates, murder rates in the whole country. Democratic state. So does Chicago and Illinois, a Democratic state. A lot of places in California, major Democratic state. New York, major Democratic state. And people think that this is the solution, but it's just not the case. What it really is just crime in the hood. But nobody wants to get to the root of that issue. They want to say, it's the blacks. They're going to talk about all these. The right is going to put out all the propaganda saying blacks are bad. And the Democrats are going to say gun control. And they work together to make it not a better situation. I can definitely tell you that. Then you have these dumbass leftists saying, well, you shouldn't arm yourself. We shouldn't be armed because when we arm ourselves, we kill ourselves. Like, what level of self-hate, white supremacist talking point is that? And they don't even realize, like, this is the left saying this. They don't even realize that that is racist. That's just as racist as Republicans saying, like, however many years ago in the past, that they shouldn't own guns. They're not smart enough to own guns. That's exactly what that is. Just a white leftist or Democrat is saying it and telling you to say it, and you follow along. Like, you're literally championing your own oppression, and somehow you don't realize that. Even when you claim to be this black radical type of person, but you don't understand that arming yourself is part of the revolution. Like, the main part of the revolution is to arm yourself. They're always saying, we want no guns. So when all the white people start coming with their guns, or anybody else, then what do we do? Protest? That doesn't work, because even when y'all protest, y'all get shot with those rubber bullets or just shot with real bullets, then y'all go down and nothing changes. It's just, we fell once again. I'm tired of the same story of we fall, and the people who claim to want change don't even want to be armed. Like, what are we doing here? It's just making us look like a joke. So yeah, if you're black, like, you need a gun. Like, there's no way around it. You need a gun, get yourself a rifle, like an AR, get yourself a shotgun, get yourself a concealed carry handgun that you can carry every day, EDC, and a full-size pistol. Like, at least get those and start with that. Get nothing, then I guess you won't live. You'll eventually just die out. And I don't want that. I want us to get our minds back and understand that we're actually in trouble. Like, we're politically irrelevant. The Republicans never cared about us. They definitely aren't going to pander to us anymore. And the Democrats have decided we don't matter either. And they're moving on to all the other minority groups, which minority means not us. Black and brown means browns and not us. But our time is coming, and pretty soon we're going to have no choice to fight back. I'm going to end with this quote.
We're advocates of the abolition of war. We do not want war, but war can only be abolished through war. And in order to get rid of the gun, sometimes it becomes necessary to take up the gun.